This tutorial is going to go over how to use Photoshop. This is the first in the Photoshop series, and we're going to start out just by learning how to create a basic Photoshop image and how to save it and just different things like that. Very first thing you're going to do once Photoshop is open is go up to the File menu and click New. You could also hit Command N or Control N, depending on if you're in a Mac or a Windows environment. And very first thing we'll do is give this a name, and for the sample image we're going to create a online advertisement. So we're going to call this one banner 300 250, and so this is where you can give it a size. You can select a few different kind of standardized images like US paper, web, mobile devices, things like that. We'll get into those later. For this one we're going to do a custom size, and we'll select 300 pixels wide by 250 pixels high with a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. Just to kind of talk about what these things are in case they're new to you, you can come over here and select from a pick list and change this. Pixels is what you're typically going to use if you're building things for the web or for just regular computer viewing. If you're doing things for print or anything that needs to be more high resolution or is actually going to be sent out beyond the web, then you're going to probably go with inches or centimeters, something like that. For this, because we're creating an online banner ad, I'm going to click pixels, and the resolution 72 is a pretty standard web resolution. If this were going to be printed, usually want to be around 300 pixels per square inch, but for this is perfect. And we do want RGB color. RGB color is what you're going to use for anything that's web or computer related. If we were going to do this for print and it was going to be black and white, we'd select grayscale. And if it was going to be regular print full color, then we'd select CMYK most likely. One other thing to note, the size of the image obviously affects the full file size. You have a base file size over here. Our banner ad's going to be 219.7 in size. If we were to change some of these things, so say we were going to change this to 300 and we were going to change the size to, let's go 8.5 by 11. Come over to this image size, you can see that it increased dramatically to 24.1 megs, and that's without any content or anything like that. So anytime you're dealing with anything print related, actually it's going to be 32 if you do full color. Anytime you deal with anything print related, it's going to be a very large file size, so that's important to know. We're going to switch it back, go 300 250. And we will change, change that to pixels, 300 by 250, and then we'll change that 72 pixels per square inch. A couple other things, background, typically you're going to want transparent. You could go background color or white, but I've found for pretty much 99.9% of my projects, I always go with a transparent background. Typically, you're not going to have to worry about anything down here in the advanced section. The other thing you can do when creating new files, though, that can be helpful, say you're going to be creating a lot of these banner ads, and you want to save this file size and all these different parameters. Come over here to click Save Preset, and then you can come and pick which things you want to save and give it a preset name, and then when you come back you can actually select that from this preset menu right here. So you could save it as a 300 by 250 banner and then go and pick that anytime you needed it. We're not going to do it here, but that's how you do it, is just by clicking that Save Preset button, picking out whatever name you want, hitting OK, and then you'd have that for as long as you want. The button right below it lets you delete any of the presets that you may make. So we'll hit OK, and it'll create the file for us. This right here, when you see these little grayed out boxes, that is Photoshop's transparent view. So don't worry, that those gray boxes are not going to show on the screen. That's just letting you know it's transparent. There are some things we're going to go over that may be more advanced if you're brand new to Photoshop. So we'll get more into how we do them and some of the details on how they can be customized later. But for right now, we're going to create just a pretty standard banner ad that could be used for anything online. This could be uploaded to Google for the pay-per-click campaign, anything like that. So I grabbed a gradient over here, drug it from top to bottom. I could change the colors if I wanted to, but we'll get into gradients more in a different tutorial. And I'll select this text box because we want to add some text to it, and change this to just a little off-white. And then we'll say free online video tutorials, because we'll say that's what we're advertising. To change the size, we'll get into text. We have one we'll go in depth in text. Just know that it makes it very easy. Just by clicking Command T, you can then go adjust the size, hit return, and then you have all the content that you want right there. So you'll have that, and then we'll just add a little, let's see what we'll add just to let everybody know that this is clickable. We'll add it a little rounded rectangle. Click and drag it, and now that's done. You can see over here in the layers section, every time I've added a new thing, it's added a new layer. You have your background, you have the text, and now you have the rounded rectangle. We want to be able to edit this rectangle to give it a different color. We don't want that pure white, so I will right click on it and come up here to rasterize, and now it gets treated as just a regular shape that I can do anything I want with. We'll add another gradient to it, and you see, and like I said, we'll get into gradients more in a different tutorial, but just a quick note, if you're trying to do a gradient on a specific item like this box, if I go the way I did with the background and go like that, you'll cover the whole thing. Command Z to undo it. What you have to do is come up here and select lock, and you want to lock the transparent pixels. What this means is it will only affect this shape. It won't do anything to the other ones. So I will come here, and now I have a nice little button, and I'll add some more text that says click here. And we'll go hit Command T again, and if you hit Command T, and after you've done that, you select Option or Alt Shift and then select any of these icons, you can actually expand it right from where it's at, and expands in every direction and maintains its aspect ratio. Hit return, and now we have it. We'll hit, you see the on the color side on the left, you can see the background's white, so all I have to do is hit Command Delete, and it will actually make that text white. And so that's all you have to do to create a really nice, easy banner. We'll go into a lot more detail on how you can add different things to banners and to be able to do pretty much anything with Photoshop. That was just the type of image I wanted to use to show you how to create a new one, and then we'll show you how to save it here. The way you do that is you can hit Command S to save it, or you can come up to File and click either Save or Save As. Click Save As, and we'll save it on the desktop. You see it already has the name we gave it, and it by default will try to save as a Photoshop format. If you're doing this for anything web related, you're going to want to go either PNG or in JPEG. JPEG usually is a good way to go because you can add some compression elements to it and make the file size a little bit smaller. It's a really nice way to shrink the file size down, which is really important, especially if you're doing anything where you need the file to load very fast. So we'll click JPEG, and we're just going to save it to the desktop, but if you're familiar with Mac or Windows, you can go in and save it to any directory you want, and just click Save. It'll come up with the JPEG options where you can choose if you want any type of matte. We're not going to mess around with that at all. And here's where you can say the file size that you want. We're going to pick to have it at its full size, and then we'll click OK. And then it's done. If you one thing you can do, if you ever need to bring that file up, you can bring it up in pretty much anything. You could bring it up in any other image editor you need, because JPEG is a standardized format, or you can open it up in Photoshop again. One thing to note, you see, because this Photoshop file is the source file, it has these layers right here. It shows everything we added. We'll open up that JPEG, hit Command O. And we'll go to the desktop, and we see our banner right here. Click Return. And it brings it up. It looks identical, except go over the layers, and you can see it has compressed all of those layers together. So now I can't go and edit any of these items. If I want to edit something, I have to go back to the source file, and then I can go and say I wanted that click here to be something different. I could come here and change it and say click now, or whatever it is. Hit escape to get out of it. But you can edit those only in the source file, which is why it's kind of a best practice when you save. Don't just save to the final output you're wanting to send it to. Also save that source Photoshop file if you ever do need to make changes to it. That was the basic tutorial on how to create your very first image in Photoshop, and how to add a few components to it and save it to something that you can use on the web. Throughout the rest of the series, I'll be going through a lot of detailed different ways you can use Photoshop to build websites, to create newsletters, to do things for print, web, and different things like that. So stay tuned, and please let me know if you have any questions, or you have any specific things that you would like to have added as a tutorial.